And now over in the United States, splits have started to emerge within the Republican Party over the U.S.'s blanket support of Israel as well due to the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza, particularly among members of Donald Trump's MAGA base. For more on this story, we can bring in France 24's former Washington correspondent Kethevane Gorjestani. Kethevane, great to see you. Tell us about the splits that's emerged.
Well, look, on Monday evening, Marjorie Taylor Greene, a MAGA far-right representative closely allied with Donald Trump, became the first Republican in Congress to use the word genocide to describe what is happening in Gaza. If we can pull up the post she had on X, she said, it's the most truthful and easiest thing to say that October 7th in Israel was horrific and all hostages must be returned, but so is the genocide, humanitarian crisis, and starvation happening in Gaza. She was responding to a fellow Republican representative, Randy Fine, who had tweeted last week, release the hostages, until then starve away. Seemingly talking to the Palestinians. Yesterday, there was another Republican, Thomas Massie. He's more of a critic of Donald Trump, a critic of the pro-Israel lobby, AIPAC, but he is a staunch Republican. He said Israel's war in Gaza is so lopsided that there's no rational argument American taxpayers should be paying for it. These are still minority voices within the Republican Party, especially when it comes to Congress. But it is representative of a shift in the base, in the voters of the Republican Party, and a shift of attitude towards Israel. And you see that especially in the broader MAGA world of the podcasters, the YouTubers, those influencers of MAGA world. Last week, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, he was on set with these two pro-Trump YouTubers, the Nelk boys, very popular with young men, with the young MAGA crowd. There was a huge and unprecedented backlash towards the Nelk boys by their own audience, who are basically accusing them of harboring a war criminal and giving him a platform. Yeah. You have people like Matt Gaetz, the former MAGA representative, people like Steve Bannon, former advisor to Donald Trump, who are saying that support for Israel is becoming a political liability. And there was the conservative radio host, Megyn Kelly, who I think summed it up pretty well this week. She said, Israel has made itself the villain of the world. They have lost support among their dearest friends.
So what explains the shift that we're seeing?
Well, there are several things that could explain this shift. One, you have to already remember that the Republican Party now is a big tent. You have the traditional GOP, the Grand Old Party, the foreign policy hawks. They see the safety of Israel as a security matter, as key to stability in the Middle East, and therefore in the interest of the United States. They haven't really moved when it comes to Israel. Then you have the evangelicals. They see defending Israel as sort of a biblical duty. And while they still strongly support Israel, they are starting to feel very uncomfortable with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. And even more so when you have Israel, for example, bombing the church in Gaza, or Israeli settlers in the West Bank attacking Christians in the West Bank. You had Mike Huckabee, who cannot be considered someone who's very friendly to the Palestinians, saying that these attacks on Christians in the West Bank were an act of terror. Finally, you have MAGA and the far right. For them, there's a little bit of anti-Semitism in that crowd, obviously, but also it's mostly about America first, that policy, which is basically, we don't care what happens elsewhere. Why should we be sending millions and billions to the Israelis to help them when we could be spending it at home? And finally, there's also a growing generational divide. Yeah. You see that among the conservatives, but also among Democrats under the age of 40, attitudes toward Israel are shifting, and they're shifting very fast.
Kethevane, thank you very much for that. Kethevane Gorjestani there.